Hey, welcome. We're live streaming with you, and we're at First Star Logistics. Dave Lapham here, Joe Goodberry there. We're going to talk Bengals and talk not only what's taking place. I think everybody's shocked, Joe. I mean, if you put down in Vegas, the Cincinnati Bengals would have an 0-3 start. You'd make a lot of money right now. You'd be a gazillionaire probably. But you have to put it away. You know, that's life in the National Football League. Anybody can beat anybody on any given Sunday, and 3-1 score games did not go their way.
That's right. And one-score games can be fluky, right? They can be coin flips.
Yep.
The outcome are often random. You know, you can remember it was the one year they went 0-7 in one-score games. I think it was Zach Taylor's first year, and then the next year they completely flip it and get back on track in 2021. And you can kind of look at this and say, you know, a couple plays, maybe through the course of 3 games, a handful of plays probably change this outcome from 0-3 to 3-0. But you are what you are. They are 0-3. And while we're relishing in it and kind of disappointed in it, you got to flip the page and think, what's next? How do they fix it? Where do we go from here?
Yeah, I mean, a wise old coach once said to us as a football team one year, and it was Forrest Gregg, and he basically was re-quoting Vince Lombardi, and we went 6-10 his first year and lost a ton of one-score games. Could have very easily been 10-6 or better. And he goes, men, you guys are playing good football, playing a lot better football than last year. It was his first year as a head coach. He goes, but you are what your record says you are. There's no asterisks as to why your record is what it is. So, yeah, I mean, just the thing is, you go to Kansas City, and a little bit of fool's gold because Kansas City is not playing to the level that Kansas City has been playing at. Patrick Mahomes said it, and he's exactly right. Bengals go there. Chiefs go 1 for 8, 12.5% on third down. Mahomes throws 150 yards. Kelsey, 3 targets, 1 catch, 5 yards. And you lose that football game? Come on. And then in this game, the numbers the Bengals put up offensively, 33 points. You know, Joe Burrow's passing yardage, total yards in the football game. You win that 97% of the time without turning the football over or punting the football. I mean, just a crazy, crazy game. And, you know, you got to go back to 1940, Joe, in this football game to have 2 teams, don't turn it over and don't punt the football. I'm thinking maybe high school football, but I couldn't remember it ever happened in the NFL, and there's a good reason why. 1940 was the last time it did.
Exactly. If I told you before the game they'll score 33 points, they won't punt, they won't have turnovers, and they barely have any penalties, right? The penalties were inconsequential in that game. It didn't take it over. I would think everybody would say, oh, they win, and they win big on Monday night. And instead, we're sitting here the next day almost embarrassed, and it's more of the defensive side. To have that type of performance where you pretty much – it would have been the same outcome if they had 0 players on the defensive side of the ball. They scored on every single drive, and that can't happen.
And the Cincinnati Bengals, no punt, they had a chance to score on every single drive, but Money Mac missed from 48. That's the only drive they didn't score on. So, I mean, there was a 62-yard kickoff return by Eckler that flipped field position to start the second half. They had a short drive touchdown as a result of that. So, really, without any punting, without any turnovers, the return game, you know, on kickoff returns, that was it. That was the only thing to determine a difference in special teams. And that 62-yard kickoff return was massive, you know, and they win average drive start and field position as a result of that. Just a wild, crazy football game. Tough one to lose.
And the defense had chances. There was 3 fourth downs for the Commanders. They converted all 3. Yep. It is tough to have that. Those are back-breaking, not just because you have the opportunity, we need to get a stop, we get the ball back, save this team from scoring on us again, give it back to Burrow and the offense that are on fire, but yet they convert. Yep. I mean, it is such a deflating outcome on a 3rd or 4th down, but especially a 4th down when that happens. I mean, for the defense to, at that point, just look back to the sideline like, guys, it's just not our night.
It's incredible. And that the 4th down was a determining drive of the football game, put him up 2 scores. Yeah. 1st and 10 at the Cincinnati's 45-yard line. Brown gets called for a false start. 1st and 15 at midfield. All right, so Daniels is sacked by Trey Hendrickson. Henderson gives him a great shot. Now it's 2nd and 20 from the Commanders' 45-yard line. Daniels, short pass, 8 yards to Brown. So now 3rd and 12. Daniels, another short yard, 8-yard pass to Brown. Taking what the defense gives him. 4th and 4, no hesitation. You know, we're going for it. And they convert. They go to Eckler for 8 yards, and they go to Ertz, the tight end, for 9 yards, and they now 1st and 10. And as the next two plays unfold on 3rd and 7 from the 27-yard line, Joe, have you ever seen a throw like Daniels had?
That's beautiful, to be honest.
I mean, as he's getting hit, Geno Stone
crushes him.
Free rusher, nobody touches him. I mean, in his throwing motion, he gets drilled and drops a dot. I mean, if he was standing there in warmups and threw that ball 50 times, couldn't throw it any better with no pressure around him. It's crazy.
As a football fan, and I know we're all Bengals fans watching this, right? But as a football fan, that throw was like, wow.
Yeah.
Oh my. Like you call a good play, you get them to throw it quick. That's what you want, right? You want all out cover zero. They run a double move on the outside. I didn't even think Dax hesitated that much. He flipped his hips and tried to go with it. Right. The only thing he maybe could have done is if he could have turned back, found the ball, and knocked it down.
Sooner,
but he's trying to play through the receiver, maybe knock it down. It is laid perfectly in a spot where the defender probably can't make a play.
I think Washington has got to be happy with Cliff Kingsbury as offensive coordinator, play calling, and doing exactly what Daniels does best. I mean, he is accentuating the talents of his young quarterback. He's not making it overly complicated. He's not making him make a lot of decisions. The decisions Daniels is making are outstanding. They haven't turned it over yet as an offense in 3 football games. The punter punted 3 times in the opener. He hadn't punted in week 2 or week 3. I mean, they have no turnovers on the season. They got 1 takeaway. Their defense, they're hoping to get a little bit more out of that. But, man, it's a young quarterback like that, his mechanics, the over-top throwing motion, I mean, where he can place the football. And he runs like a wide receiver or defensive back. I mean, the guy's got speed. Yeah. He's got elusiveness. He's got make you miss. I mean, it might have been his coming out party. I mean, this dude's a star.
What a party that was.
Star.
Though. I mean, you complete 90% of your passes.
91,
Commanders fans have to be – I mean, we've been there as Bengals fans seeing Joe Burrow that first time. We're like, oh, we got a guy. Yeah. They just saw it for them. And we know that feeling, so you kind of feel something for Commanders who've had a lot of, bad times in the recent years, the last 30 years or so. But Commanders fans got to be feeling pretty good about Jayden Daniels after that. And you're right. The way he was running and moving in the pocket and then quickly setting his feet and throwing, it was happening like this. I think of the one play to the outside. I think Joseph Osai was out in the flats, and Osai just completely gets shook to the ground. And I'm like, oh, that's different. We don't have a guy like that. Not that you need a guy that can run around and make plays, but, man, is it nice.
He was the leading rusher with 39 yards rushing. He threw for 254. 293 yards total offense. I mean, he had over 500 in the first 2 weeks. He's pushing 800 now without a turnover. I mean, taking care of the football. It's nothing, real complicated. Zone read, run pass option, screens. Their passing game is an extension of the running game for the most part. It's like short, intermediate stuff at best. And here's what they're doing also. Take away, and you can't. I mean, Eckler had a 24-yard touchdown run. But other than that, on 31 other carries, 84 yards, 2.7. Pretty good. So they run the ball 32 times, Daniels 23, and a lot of them are like runs. So they're featuring pounding you. The Bengals run it 20 times for 124 yards, 19 yards carries, 120 yards for the running backs, the 2 tailbacks, and throw it 38. They're throwing it twice as much as they're running it. Washington, the other way around, they're going to try to be balanced, or if anything, it's going to be the favor of running the football, and their passing game is an extension of that running game. Man, it's like in a game like that, that was your opportunity to keep pounding them. And I thought the offensive line had their best game. I thought the 2 interior defensive tackles that can wreck games, the Bengals controlled pretty darn well.
Yeah, and, a lot of Bengals fans were asking today on Twitter, they're saying, well, I thought the run defense was okay. And I agree in terms of the running back. Sure, they struggled with Daniels a little bit. But what I wanted to say is what I think exposed them a little bit, and you would attest to this, when you have to add extra bodies or you're run blitzing or you're bringing a safety into the box because you're worried about the run so much, that exposes you on the other end. If the D-line's reading run off play action, then, okay, now I got a pass rush. Well, it's already too late. Daniels back there for 3 seconds per drop back. And the pass rush is not getting home. The second level's coming up on the play action, creating big gaps between the safeties. We're seeing Zach Ertz cut across that void in front of Vaughn Bell for completions. And I just think when you have to overplay your run defense a little bit, it leaves you exposed. And I think that's really what happened to the Bengals defense last night is they were so concerned with stopping the run, as they should be, probably because they don't have the talent right now in the interior defensive line.
I think, too, the fact that T. Higgins came back and was available. T. Higgins and Jamar Chase for the first time playing together this season. Now, Washington's defense has to be balanced.
Yeah.
And they can't tilt coverage one way. And Dan Quinn, when he was defensive coordinator for Dallas back in 22, he ran 2 safeties deep, cover 2 against the Bengals with those 2 guys at receiver more than he did all year long. So I figured that, they were going to be too deep quite a bit. And he had 1 safety deep. He didn't just stay in too deep, but he did it a high percentage of the time. So now, what's the ripple effect of that? Jamar Chase can eat. He's getting some man coverage. Every time we get man coverage, Joe Burrow's, picking it apart. The middle of the football field, when the 2 safeties are going over to help outside receivers, tight ends in the middle of the football field, routes in the middle of the football field, running game. They're not dropping a safety in the box. Worst case scenario, you got 7 in the box. The running game perks up. I mean, a serious 6.2 yards per carry. Offensive line had their best, game of the year. And a lot of it is because now you've got talent here, there, wherever you need it. And the defense has to be balanced. I mean, they can't say, okay, we're going to tilt and we're going to do that. We're taking this away. And we're taking too many things to take away. So the ripple effect of T. Higgins' return with Jamar Chase out there as well, I thought was pretty obvious and pretty impactful.
And something to hang your hat on as we go forward. A lot of people wondering, where does this team go? What do they do? Having both those receivers are important.
Yep.
And you say that because, I thought Chase Brown looked explosive every time he touched the ball. And Zach Moss is making guys miss. I thought they helped in the passing game as well. The O-line finally looks probably the best offensive line Joe Burrow's had. They're performing well. But it also, I think of that first drive, and if you watch the tape on that, they're bringing a safety directly over the top of Chase. Those first 3 plays or so. I remember the third down, the safety on the one side was directly over him to start before he drifted in. And then you get the play where they finally get it. We're going to get a single high safety. Play action, deep to Jamar. And you may only get that 5 times a game or so, but you make them pay when they do it. They back off again, and we're going to run it again. You get in the 12 personnel. Let Eric Hall do the dirty work underneath and block and let these guys run. And if you want to hang your hat on what this team is going to look like for the rest of the year, the offense looks more dynamic than they were in previous years, where I didn't feel like they could get in 12 personnel and be effective. I didn't feel like they could get the explosive runs, when Mixon was carrying the load. They're getting that right now, and they're successful.
So everybody wondering about Joe Burrow's wrist, that dot he dropped on Jamar Chase, the 41-yarder. I mean, unbelievable throw. I mean, you throw that multiple times, you can't throw it any better than that. Am I saying that he's not still working back from it? I mean, he's getting treatment every week. He's on the injury report because he's getting treatment, and he has to be declared practicing full. Are there some times when his wrist may be a little bit of a factor and his accuracy's affected some potentially? But when he's out there putting up the numbers he's putting up, he's the best option they got, man. He's the best, one of the best options in the National Football League. The dude can play and can play at a very high level. So, I mean, Joe Burrow, quarterback rating 127.5. It's pretty good stuff. And Yosivas, 25 catches in the red zone. 25 catches in his career, 7 touchdowns.
Crazy.
And a lot of those 7 touchdowns are in the red zone. And he and Burrow have this little 6th sense going. Some of the double moves are designed routes. Some of them, though, are like creations and extensions of the play after coverage. They're on the same page. They're both reading the same thing. This is what I'm going to do on the back line of the goal line. If this occurs, it's encouraging to see that kind of production as well. And I'm telling you, all is he's significant. I mean, they're using him as a fullback. He's the lead block that he had out of the I formation. Joe's under center, run the football, hammered up in there. He gets the lead block, gets the steal. That was I think it was the 15-yard carry that Moss had. Chase Brown had a 16-yard carry, but he averaged 8.9 per rush. Crazy. On seven rushes, almost a first down every time he carried the football, man. These football games, it's like, offensively, how do you lose this football game? Against Kansas City, defensively, how do you lose that football game? Play a football game, a complete football game. Play complementary football. Offense, take care. A lot of times it's like, all right, defense is a little bit down, offense, pick it up. Offense a little bit down, defense, pick it up. My definition of complementary football, everybody does what they're supposed to do. Offense, defense, special teams, everybody plays at a significant level They compliment each other. You win a damn football game. And you know what? Quit talking Super Bowl. Quit talking AFC Championship. Quit talking playoffs. Quit talking wild card. Win a damn football game. They got to get a win. Haven't won in the preseason. Haven't won in the regular season. Win a game. Nice. Win a game. Go from there.
Win a game.
Yes.
Lap says. I agree. That's what we're here for.
Let's do it.
They have to. They have no choice. They're facing Andy Dalton and the Carolina Panthers.
Right.
And the season's on the line. Whatever hope they have at 0-3, and it's slim, and it hasn't been done too often in the history of the league. But with this team, it's a little bit different. You look at the history of 0-3 teams, and you see those teams like, yeah, these are teams that end up picking top 5. They don't have a good quarterback. It's a coach that's going to get fired. None of these things are issues with the Bengals. As much as people want blood, I don't think any of the coaches are getting fired, right? So you've got the quarterback. The offense is finding its rhythm. It's getting in sync. The explosive plays are coming back. What's coming back on the defensive side that can give them some help? Myles Murphy in week 5. So you're going to have to survive one more week without him. McKinley Jackson potentially week 5. Also, we'll have to see how he's doing.
Right.
But you're getting these guys back. Hopefully Sheldon Rankins, BJ Hill are right around the corner. Chris Jenkins looked good in run defense last night. So is the defensive tackle room getting some more talent and help? Sure, they are. They got to get healthy. Myles Murphy, they're really missing that second pass rusher right now.
Yep.
There was a lot riding on Murphy to be that first-round pick and be that year 2 leap. If he comes back healthy and can provide that, the defense doesn't look so bad.
Trey Henderson can't do it by himself. I mean, he's got 3 sacks in 3 games, tracking for 17 sacks. He had 17.5 last year. The dude's crazy. But, man, when he disrupts and makes the quarterback, and Daniels is talented, let's face it. I mean, out of pocket, climbing, whatever. When he makes a move, though, somebody's got to be there. I mean, stay in your rush lane and have pass rush lane integrity. These defensive tackles we're talking about with Washington, the reason that they've got all these sacks and tackles philosophy, and defensive ends are doing their job and making the quarterback stay in pocket, and he has to climb, and they're there to make
collapses.
Somebody's got to be there. Somebody's got to stay in the lane, don't get moved, and finish. Like talking about the playoffs and all that.
Lap, you're firing me up too. Can somebody get a pass rush win other than Trey Henderson? Was that as loud as his?
I'm telling you.
Bigger hands than I do.
Okay, since 1990, 2.5% of the teams that started 0-2 made the playoffs. None of the 162 teams that started 0-3 have won a Super Bowl since 1990. Why not be the first? But here I am talking about get a win. Get a win. Forget Super Bowl. Get a damn win. Let's win a football game. And I'm telling you, Carolina, that defense is solid, salty, man. They run a 3-4 defense. You can do a lot of things out of the 3-4 defense. You talked about Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton's beaten the Cincinnati Bengals with 2 football teams already, 2 different football teams. He didn't do it in New Orleans. Right. Will he do it with a 3rd football team? That'd be an NFL record, I believe, or tie it or something. Don't let him win that football game down in Carolina. And I know one thing. He's seen it all. You're not going to fool him. Andy Dalton is a smart guy. He's seen it all. He's banked all these reps. He can make adjustments on a football field in a huddle before he has to go to the sideline and talk to the coaches about it.
Yeah, it's a much different scenario, right? Lose to the Patriots, you lose to the Commanders. These are games that you thought going into the season should be wins. Maybe that's half the battle, right? You think you already have these in the bag. This is supposed to be an easy season, or at least the schedule. It's never easy in the NFL.
Right.
These teams are going to surprise you. What you thought was good last year may not be good this year. Who you thought stunk last year probably improved. At least that's the goal. They're hoping to improve. And you've got the Giants coming up. The Browns are down, but they've always had your number. The Eagles are struggling a little bit. You got the Raiders coming up. There is a path to get back on track, but it starts now, and they don't have much room to waste now. They've got to figure it out, got to play together. You need offense and defense at the same time, as you said. It's got to happen right now.
Yeah, it's got to. And you look at it and you think, okay, well, 3 out of the first 4 games, and other than Kansas City, they've been stable. They've been stable for a while, but you got new owners, you got new general managers in some cases, you got new head coaches, you got new coordinators. Man, hit them before they got it together, in the early stages. So far, 0-2. Now, Andy Dalton, of course, kind of, instead of that young quarterback struggling to find his way, Bryce Young's collecting splinters in his butt, and Andy Dalton's going to be playing. So that's a much different dynamic. I mean, Andy Dalton was the first quarterback in the National Football League this year in the first 3 weeks to pass for 300 yards. Joe Burrow did it a night later. They're the only 2. And you look at it, it's wild because, all right, you had 2 Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks from the same school going head-to-head. Second time in NFL history that took place, Daniels and Joe Burrow. And they put on an instant classic. In this one, two quarterbacks that played for the Cincinnati Bengals. Andy Dalton starts his career as a second-round pick with the Cincinnati Bengals, has a lot of success, 5 straight playoff appearances. Doesn't win one of them in the playoffs, but he has great success. Now, here they go. They're going against each other. And Joe Burrow basically replaced Andy Dalton, and Andy Dalton's trying to knock the Bengals off. So it's crazy how in this league, man, people what comes around goes around, and you never know. Like you said, Joe, on any given Sunday, man, you can't take anything for granted. And look at how different the Cincinnati Bengals are from last year, roster-wise. The Bengals aren't the only team in the league, dudes. I mean, all 32 teams, 31 others are doing the same thing. So predicating it on what you saw last year or whatever can be a totally different ballgame. That's the beauty of the NFL. It's the greatest live television show there is. That's why it gets the ratings it gets. That's why the networks pay the gazillion dollars they pay.
I wonder if the third biggest market for last night's game was Louisiana, New Orleans, Baton Rouge. You know what I mean? Watching Jayden Daniels and Joe Burrow go at it. Those LSU fans must have loved that. Put on a show like that where each guy looks at the top of their game.
And Jamar Chase, throw him in there as well. Of course, he's an LSU dude. I mean, it's unbelievable. The National Football League, it takes the country by storm every single fall. It's the number one rated show by a significant margin every single week is one of the Sunday night, Monday night, what a special night. And then you'll see like a 4:30 game that gets a big part of the audience nationally. It's crazy. If it's not the most watched, it's never below number 2 and number 3. There's no doubt about that.
That's part of the pain too, is when you are a football fan, your team goes out there and can't win that game on Monday night, Sunday night, Thursday night, whatever it may be. Everyone's watching the Bengals, ready for them to get back on track, and they can't do it, right? They can't, especially, it was the defense, not so much the offense this time. But yeah, to do that on a national stage, that probably fires them up in the locker room a little bit more. And
I'll tell you, man, as a former player, walking out onto that stadium for the home opener, the juice was crazy. The Monday night game, orange out. I mean, Ring of Honor. And congratulations to the 2 inductees in the Ring of Honor, Tim Crumry, Corey Dillon, 2 of the most physical players, the most football conditioned players I've ever seen. They go in, the place is off the hook. I mean, it's like they're both in the top 10 crowds in franchise history. So there's no excuse not to feed off the energy of that crowd. Couldn't get it done. 0-2 at home. Who would have thunk it?
Not me.
Not me either. No question about it. Probably not you either.
All right, so that's it, huh? Let's go to 1-3. Let's get this win.
Let's go down to Carolina. Take care of business. That 3-4 defense, man. You got to be able to communicate. They're going to be coming from everywhere and anywhere. You got to be able to hang against that 3-4.
Be nice to see Mims in that situation.
Yep. Yep. And man, don't let Big Red beat you, man. Don't let Andy Dalton.
He wants to.
Yeah, man. So stay with us. Keep following. Joel Goodberry does his thing. I'll try to do my thing. We love you. Appreciate you, your interest and interaction with us. We'll see you soon. Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realized self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.